We're welcoming in Jason Quick, who covers the Blazers for The Athletic. Jason, first and foremost, walk us through the last 48 hours, the process of signing Carmelo Anthony and making him now available to play.
Well, I think after the Blazers watched themselves on the wrong end of a 14-0 run against Toronto, during which their power forwards were once again kind of non-existent, they knew they had to do something, and they knew they couldn't wait until December 15th when the trade market kind of expands. So they went to an old friend, Carmelo Anthony. They've kind of danced with him before in the past. They've, Dame and CJ have reached out to him and encouraged him to sign in Portland. And they've been in contact, but it just never worked. And so they reached back out to him and felt they had to do this, that their situation at power forward is so dire that they have to roll the dice and take a chance on this.
A lot of the conversation surrounding Melo, though, is shifting expectations, whether it's he changing his expectations for what he's bringing to a team or us changing our expectations for what he's expected to bring. But what is he going to be expected to bring? How will his role be defined on this team?
I think that's still a little up in the air, but from what I understand, he has been told that, look, you're going to play power forward for us. We don't know if you're going to start yet, but what they want him to come and do is relieve a little bit of pressure off Dame and CJ. Two defenses recently have used the box and one on Damian Lillard. I mean, teams are just loading up on him and making it tough on him. And so I think they need another threat to make shots. The big question, of course, is defense. That's been, I think, Portland's biggest problem during their 4-8 start is they can't stop anybody. And I don't think Carmelo's really going to help them in that area. So I think we're entering an era where, Portland's just going to try to outscore people. And but as far as Carmelo adopting or, accepting a role, he needs the Blazers. The Blazers need him. And I think they'll find a way to try to make this work, both realizing that this is kind of a last-ditch effort for both of them.
Then injuries aside, what else is this team missing? Or is this the signing that the team sees as the one that could take the team over the hump they've been hitting in the Western Conference?
Yeah, I don't think they view this as getting it over the hump. I think they view this as kind of stopping the bleeding. And then once the season kind of matures a little bit around the trade deadline, this team will look to maybe make that move that moves the needle. They have Hassan Whiteside on an expiring contract, Kent Bazemore on an expiring contract. And if they feel like they're still in striking position to make the playoffs or make a run, then I think they do that. But to get to that point where they have where they are in striking range, they need to stop the bleeding now. And so that's why this move is being made. I don't think anyone has any grand illusions of Carmelo Anthony suddenly leading the Blazers back into the upper echelon of the West. That's not going to happen. He's here to help stop the bleeding right now and get them in a position where they can get to a time to get an impact player.
Well, we will continue to follow your work on The Athletic, in The Athletic, at The Athletic. Either way, Jason, thanks for taking the time.
You bet. See you guys.
All right. I think expectations, the fair way to take this conversation. What do you, Coach, expect Carmelo to bring to this team?
I don't know. And I don't think they know for sure, but they need something. Anybody who's critical of this move, I think, is off base. Number one, it's a non-guaranteed deal. If it doesn't work, they can be out of it at any time. Number two, who would you suggest as a better option at this point? There's not a lot out there. The guy can probably still score the ball. I think he has to come off the bench. I think he should want to come off the bench. There's no shots for him, Rex, in the starting lineup. In the starting lineup, it's going to be Lillard and McCollum. Off the bench, he and Anthony Simons can get the shots, and they can get some offense off their bench. That's where he should want to play, I think, right now. Plus, then his defense isn't as big a liability because he's guarding second-unit guys. I think that's the fit for him. I hope he can still do it.
I'm with you. I spent 5 years with Melo out in Denver. He's one of my favorite guys. I'm happy he has this opportunity. I'm with you, Stan. I think he wants to come off of the bench also for a different reason. Because if he wants to continue to play, and he wants to go, he's not going to go to bad teams. Bad teams are not going to sign Carmelo. He's going to have to go to good teams. And if he's going to want to continue to play following this stint with Portland, and maybe it lasts long, but if he wants to continue to play in this league, he needs to show these other teams that he's willing to come off the bench.
Well, that's why
and play and do his thing.
That's why it's been about shifting those expectations, because his is obviously to be a superstar in this league, like he's been for as long as he's been. But bad teams aren't looking for him to take over. They're looking for him to develop their young talent, and then good teams are going to want a role like that for Melo.
Yeah, look. He can score the basketball. If you put him out there and give him starters minutes, he's going to get 20 points. Defensively and all that, I don't know how that's going to hold up at this point. Melo, at one point, he could score the ball as easily as anybody on this planet. I think back to guys who didn't win a title, guys like Mark Aguirre, guys initially early in their career who scored a ton of points. Dominique Wilkins, a guy who scored, who just didn't ever have, couldn't get over the hump to win a title. And I'm hoping Melo, this is his path back to do that.
Maybe more of what we saw from him on Team USA, more of a catch and shoot type threat.
Well, yeah, and also, look, I think the defensive thing is a little overstated. We're making it like Carmelo Anthony's the only guy in the NBA who doesn't defend. Have you seen the numbers people are putting up? Like, there's a lot of people in this league not defending. And somehow he gets stuck with that label as he plays no defense. Hey, listen, we could take the rest of this pregame show and probably the first half of the upcoming game to list the guys in this league that don't defend. It's not only Carmelo Anthony.
We can actually talk over the highlights of the next game.
Absolutely,
and it would fit in flawlessly.
When you get labeled, they're hard to shake. I got labeled as a bad defender, and I could.
Yes, you did. It wasn't fair.
For thus far.
That's in 12 games. I looked at that today and I said, I was a small college player and not a good one, but I played 4 years, probably 100 games. I'm not sure I scored 464. I'm not sure that I did.
And it's in 12 games. I mean, what he's doing is historic.
Come on.
I mean, I just look, Wilt Chamberlain, you're on a list
Anytime
with
you're on a
Wilt
list with
Chamberlain and Rick Barry.
Yes.
And Rick must have been a monster. I don't remember Rick, but you probably do.
Yeah, well, because I was in the Bay Area, you know, and so, the first real pro team that I really identified with was the 75 Warriors that won the championship when I was in high school, and Rick was the guy. So, I remember him. Great scorer, but nothing like this guy.
Well, without Clint Capella and without Russell Westbrook in the matchup tonight, what do you expect from James?
Well, it'll be good because James will get a few more shots. But here's what's really happened with James is he started to shoot the ball well. Like we know early in the year, it was mainly the result of volume and getting to the free throw line. But over the last 4 games, he shot 48% from the floor and over 40% from three. When he's efficient on top of all of this, then it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I mean, goodness. What do you expect, though, from the team as a whole?
I expect him to take a lot of the offense, of course, but I imagine he's going to get double and triple teamed all night long, and they're going to make someone else beat him on the Rockets roster, not named Russell Westbrook. And especially with Clint, even more pressure for James to score and score big. I look for him to have another 40-plus, 45-plus game tonight.
Perhaps the other effort is defensively from the other members of the team.
When you see a Houston game, what you really expect is there's going to be a lot of points at both ends because they're certainly going to score, and they're usually not going to stop anybody, though their defense has been a little bit better lately. And what I'm interested in that game is just what Rex was talking about. I'm interested to see how Minnesota guards him, how often they double team him, if we see any gimmicky stuff like box and one. And then I'm interested to see what they're going to do with Karl Anthony Towns at the other end of the floor with Wiggins out. They rely on him. Are they going to be 2 guys on him for most of the game? So I think that'll be interesting in that.
Why not? If we can see a box and one in the NBA Finals, it can happen anytime, folks. We've got just a couple of minutes until tip-off, and Iman Shumpert is available to play in this one as he signed with Brooklyn Nets just a couple of days ago. Nets and Bulls is coming up next on NBA TV. Won't be playing in this one, but take a look at his last 3 games. Almost 20 points a game. 37.9% from the field, just 4 of 23 from three-point land. I watched him warm up Thursday night in Denver. The Nets staff told me that it was going to be left up to him as to whether or not he could go with his shoulder, and now he's not going to be able to go in this one. Here's what Coach Kenny Atkinson had to say about it.
Coach, can you tell us what the severity and what your concern level is for Kyrie's injury?
Listen, he took a pretty good shot in the Utah game. I think he's played through some pain, obviously, and we just felt it was best that he doesn't play today. To take care of it, get healthy for when we get home. But